Hi, I'm Becca Otis from Five Lines Pottery in Indianapolis, Indiana.
And I'm Ryan Durbin from RD Ceramics, located in Southgate, Kentucky.
And welcome to Wheel Talk.
Hey guys, we've loved answering all of your questions so far. If you'd like to hear your question on the podcast, please send them to us on Instagram at Wheel Talk Podcast or by email to wheeltalkpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks.
Guys, so we have an interview with Yellow Door Ceramics coming up, and just so you know, I was having a little trouble with the microphone. I didn't know exactly how to use it with like 3 people because I was interviewing them in person. So just so you know, it's a little quiet and there's some like reverb, but it's really good information, so hopefully you can get past that. Maybe play some like instrumental background music or something. I don't know. Okay, bye.
There's snacks and snacks.
Okay.
And also snacks.
And also snacks. Cool. Okay. Well, it's 11:11. I feel like that's a great time to start.
Serendipitous.
It is serendipitous. Did you recently? I saw something on Instagram that had this it was a 7-Eleven and the gas was 7-Eleven.
Oh, horrifying.
I know.
No, thank you. This is a world I don't want to live in. Oh, God.
Okay, so hello. This is Becca, and I am all by myself. Ryan's not here today, so you can guarantee that we're not going to stay on track. And I am with Yellow Door Ceramics, and we're going to talk about opening up a pottery studio. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
Sure. My name is Amanda Pennington.
And I'm Felissa King.
Felissa King and Amanda Pennington. Okay, great. Hello.
Hello.
Okay. I want to hear about you guys and like how you started in ceramics. You know, random stuff like what's your favorite color, how old you are, that kind of stuff.
Okay. Well, yeah.
You go first?
Okay. So I have always loved art. I ended up studying sculpture in college. That was like my first intro to working with my hands. In art, I had mostly done like drawing and painting growing up.
Yeah.
And so I took, 2 or 3 ceramics classes through that, but I was mostly focusing on like mixed media sculpture. And then when I graduated, I felt very lost at what to do with that and where to go with it. And so I actually stopped making art for maybe a year or so, and then was like, shit, I need to get back into this. And got a membership at a studio in Cleveland for a while. And then when I moved to Indy, started at Fountain Square Clay Center and connected with Amanda at that time, and just was mostly doing it for my own mental health, honestly.
Right.
I was not really intending to make any sort of career out of it.
Yeah.
So I did that for, several years, and then finally started selling my work only about like a year and a half ago.
Okay.
And then we started talking about opening the studio soon after. So I'm 28.
Cool.
My favorite color is blue.
Nice. And her hair is pink.
And my hair is pink. I started dyeing my hair when I opened, well, not when we opened the studio, but I promised myself when I quit my day job that I'd start
Your corporate job.
my corporate job,
Yeah.
that I'd
Nice.
start dyeing my hair. So, had it pink and purple so far.
Are
And
you gonna do blue next, like turquoise?
maybe I should.
That was a
I feel
good
like
color
pink,
for me.
I know, I feel like pink is very much like a summer color for me.
Yeah.
Maybe once we go into like fall, winter, I'll go into cool tones. Orange.
You'd actually, like
I
strawberry
feel like I could
blonde.
do that, yeah.
Yeah, you could do that, like a gingery orange,
Yeah,
peachy
very
orange.
fun.
See, we're already doing this. I use Lime Crime.
Okay,
No, not
yeah.
Lime Crime. Yes. No. I don't know.
Yeah,
Lime
something.
Crime. I think it's Lime Crime.
I think
And
that
they
sounds
have
right.
they have like a vibrant peach one that would look really cool.
Ooh.
I'll
Yeah.
show you what it looks like.
So
like
fun.
brand new.
Yeah, I've just been using Arctic Fox, and like the last time I dyed it right before this, I did like their neon UV reactive pink for Pride, which was really fun. It was like just very extremely bright
Yeah.
for a day or two, but
So Lime Crime lasts longer than Arctic
that's
Fox.
my only thing is like it seems like it fades out really quickly for
This
me.
is probably like 2 months?
wow.
3 months?
Hey, not bad.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
I'll
I
try
wash
that.
my hair like every other day.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, Arctic Fox goes faster.
yeah, I tried Arctic Fox and it was like
I like
out.
the color for a hot minute, and then it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Okay, Amanda.
So this is Amanda now. I, have always loved art kind of my whole life. And going to college, I tried to resist that a little bit because I was like, how do you make a career in the arts?
Yeah.
So I was like, undecided major for a while, and then I kind of got into art classes. And as a junior, I ended up taking my first Intro to Wheel class. Really loved it, but actually almost dropped out because I was taking like a German bi-term, a printmaking class, and I was like, I do not have time for this like 30-hour
commitment.
foil pot.
Yeah.
I don't have time. So I actually cried in my professor Lindsay Ostrader's office, and then she was like, you're not allowed to quit. Like, just keep working and like turning your projects late. You're fine. So that was kind of my introduction. Ended up staying in college for 5 years because I started so late. And then after that, just tried to kind of do anything that I could to like stay in the arts. So I went to like Airmont as a work study in Penland. And yeah, just kind of tried to keep chugging along. Tried to, in 2021 is when I made like a big list of things I wanted to try to accomplish that year.
Yeah.
To try to get back into the arts, and I feel like it kind of like springboarded us into opening the studio.
Yeah, they were like small, tiny, bite-sized goals, and then you looked at it at the end of the year and you were like, oh wow,
Yeah.
I
like
blew those out of the water. Yeah.
Yeah.
5 studio days a month, like 5 minutes or 7 hours, like just trying to get back into the habit of making and thinking about it more, because I had a soul-sucking job there for a little while. Worked in finance and just wasn't really for me.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that's how it always starts, right? Like you have a soul-sucking job and you're
To
like,
save money and
yeah. I mean, that's how I started doing like painting and like more art stuff. And then like when I was in Washington.
As a release.
Yeah. As a release. And then, and it was just like easy to forget your life. And then it becomes your life. And then you're like,
Not the plan.
You're like, I need a new hobby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When did this job become a hobby? Yeah. So you kind of have a background in finance. Is that like based in business, or is it no?
No, so my mom does accounting for
Okay.
that company. So like just in high school and college, like during summer, winter breaks, I'd come and like just make calls and help out however I could, write Christmas cards, And when my husband got a job in Indianapolis, there's a branch up here, so I just transitioned into that job.
Yeah.
Never thought it was going to be like a lifelong career path.
Yeah, and what was the type of work you were doing there?
Mostly like, honestly, customer service more than anything. Like, but I was considered a loan officer, so just like writing loans, taking applications, things like that.
Cool.
Yeah, and I also worked at a financial firm, but I was like an admin on the operations team.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, those are both kind of like good things to start in to like move towards something like this. When did you guys? So you were at Fountain Square, which is local, and then you were like, we want to start our own thing. How did that come about?
Well, I was at Fountain Square. Amanda was actually making work at home in her dining room. Well, in the basement.
Yeah, my
for a
dining
bit.
room to start, and then when we moved, in my basement. Yeah.
And were you firing at Fountain Square?
I was firing at Brickyard.
Brickyard. Okay.
And we connected via Instagram.
Oh.
Tell that story.
Yeah, so like, yeah.
Both almost died.
I almost died that night.
Actually.
Yeah.
We all have a story like that.
Yeah, that's fine. No, but I had moved to Indy from Cleveland, and like I ended up becoming a studio potter at Fountain Square Clay Center, but I was looking for places to make work. And so, I just started following a bunch of random potters in Indy to kind of get an idea of, hey, who else is here?
Yeah.
Where are they making things? What type of community is there? And followed Amanda and saw her set up at home and was just kind of curious, like, hey, where are you firing stuff? How do you make work? And so I slid into her DMs to ask her some questions.
And I actually responded.
And she actually responded, and she was so nice. And I was like, oh my gosh, she seems so great.
Must
like
not
we
have been
should
anxious that day.
Yeah. Like we should connect. And so pretty quickly I was like, hey, do you want to get a drink? Like we should, hang out. And so yeah, we went out for margaritas and hit it off really well. And then I almost got hit by a car when we were leaving. And yeah,
We had the walk sign.
we had the walk sign, and I started to cross, and this person was not paying attention.
Blindside, yeah.
And I mean, they probably missed me by 2 feet. I mean, it was really close.
Wow.
So now we're bonded forever.
So yeah, so
You're
trauma.
soul bonded.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Wow. So
And
then,
then Halloween, I had a bonfire, and
like 2 years later, right? A year later.
yeah, 2020 maybe.
2020. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And like as a joke, just throughout, like, okay, I really want to start a studio. Like, you should start it with me. And I was trying to get our friend Jackie to do it too.
Mhm.
And they're like, oh, haha, like, yeah, maybe one day.
Like I was thinking like 10 years or something. You
Yeah.
know, like sometime down the line.
That's how it
we'll
always
do
is.
that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then last spring or like winter, you were like, "No, I'm actually really serious about this.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna do it." And I think your
I was
your
like, I don't
work
wanna
was
do it alone.
yeah, your work was more soul sucking than mine. I think so.
Yeah.
I think with COVID, just like being stuck in the office, like we were locked in doing loan closings through like the drop slot in the door. Like I was like, oh, I
can't do this anymore.
something about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were ready to take the leap. You started to pull together a business plan. I was not sure if I was ready. And you had talked about opening it with someone else for a brief period of time. And that fell through. And then I was just kind of like, I think I realized I don't want to miss the ship on this one. Like, this feels like the time, there's never going to be a better time.
Yeah.
And, like, if I'm going to do it with someone, I want to do it with Amanda. Like, I think we could actually pull it off.
Yeah.
And so we started, like, looking at spaces and talking more in depth about the business plan and that sort of thing. And then it kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah. What did your guys' financial situation look like before? Like, were you the sole provider financially, or what's like kind of what did that look like for you guys?
Yeah, different for both of us.
Yeah.
For sure. So yeah, I just had my like full-time job, and my husband had his, and we've always just kind of lived in like small apartments. Like when we ended up buying a house, kind of bought a small house because I think I always kind of knew in my mind that I wanted to open the studio. So I was like, you can go out to eat once a week, you know, like trying to really be as frugal as I could through that point, knowing that I wanted to open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But we're
so-
pretty equal in pay, like even now. So
Yeah,
it feels pretty
you
equal.
and Evan. And I, I'm single. I'm not married, you know, so I don't have a partner to help support. So I, at my finance job, I was making, I don't know, like $50,000 a year, something
Okay.
like that. And then, we needed to, put some money into this
You
from
always
our
had roommates
savings.
and stuff
I always
like
had
that,
roommates.
right?
Yeah, I always had roommates. And so that helped with like paying the bills and things like that. And I've always tried to be, you know, thoughtful about my savings and so on and so forth. But I definitely did have to think about it differently when we were talking about opening the studio of like, okay, how do I engage even more conservatively to ensure that I have some flexibility in terms of money,
Especially if it
to get us
fails.
through.
It
Yeah,
takes a
to get
long
us through a
time to
period of time.
start.
Well, especially working at a financial firm, you know, I worked with financial advisors, financial planners, and a lot of them when we were opening were kind of like, you do realize you're not going to make money for a while.
Yeah.
Like, are you ready for that? And were kind of like warning me about like all of the business owners they know and how even if it was a good, you know, lucrative business model, it would take a while to start kind of like turning into profit zone.
Yeah. Has it
And so-
taken a while?
No.
No.
Okay.
It's
Good.
Thankfully.
But I think some of that is like we didn't take out loans to open.
Okay.
We were able to dig into each of our savings.
But did you loan
To-
yourself the money?
What do you mean?
Like we're paying ourselves back that? No, we're just getting like
No.
a regular salary at this point.
Okay.
Yeah, so in theory, it's like, have we surpassed that? We've probably like broken even.
Okay.
I would imagine.
Okay.
Well, maybe not quite.
No, probably a
Yeah,
little
probably
more.
probably broken even or a little bit more in terms of what we invested to then, you know, where we're at now.
Okay.
But yeah, we didn't like view it as like, oh, we got to pay that back and then.
Okay.
And technically, I mean, in our
We're
business
both-
account, we have enough that if we
If we wanted to take
wanted
that,
to, but we just
we
don't want
could.
to deplete that either.
no.
That's valid.
Rainy day fund.
Yeah, we're trying
Yeah.
to be conservative with how we approach it.
Yeah.
And
And-
not draw too much from it or whatever.
And it sounds like you're operating on a cash basis, no debt. Like,
No.
Correct.
yeah.
That was a big
Yeah.
thing opening, because we're like,
We didn't want to.
yeah, with our
Have
space,
the
we were
stress
like,
of that.
even if we have the rent of this and we sign it for 3 years, even if not one person comes in for a class, like the memberships cover the space. So we're like, oh, we'll just have a bougie studio. you
Yeah.
know?
even if we didn't have members, it's like we just have an expensive studio. We can get jobs to cover the rent or whatever.
Right.
But we don't want to have this huge loan that we're worried about paying back each month or whatever. We both preferred like being like, hey, we're willing to take on the risk of putting in our own money. And knowing that we're like free and clear on that.
That's
so
good.
we both invested equally.
Yeah.
And then, kind of just work from that basis.
That's smart. I have a lot of friends that own businesses, and specifically one is still a friend. Two past friends that went into business with each other, and one put significantly more money, and the other put significantly more time and thought. And then it ended up in a full financial battle, and like it was like she mortgaged out her house.
Oh my gosh.
To like do this, and then it ended up in a whole lawsuit. So that's why you should go into business with friends.
Yeah, we've tried to be very careful to both in time and money maintain an equal investment. 50-50 all the way.
Yeah.
And, we set up our operating agreement early on that would
Yeah.
have like, hey, here's how we arbitrate a disagreement between the two of us. Like legally, we are both like, fully invested in this and have like, I guess, protection, I suppose.
Yeah.
If something were to go wrong, we have ways to negotiate that, ways to talk about and work it.
So how did you find out about that? Like, I know a lot of people don't even know what that is and how to go about that. Like, talk about, I know you probably have connections, but
that was helpful. I think it was some of, like, I did a lot of online reading of just like, what do we have to do to start a business? Like, what do we need legally, and so on and so forth. So I was seeing all of these like terms, and then I was lucky in terms of the connections I had day to day at work as I was phasing out into opening Yellow Door, and so we had both notified our workplaces that we were going to go down to part time and kind of step away, and so people were aware of what we were trying to do, and so there were a few advisors or people who I knew who had started businesses before who were like, hey, you need to do this, right? Like, and so the operating agreement that we worked from was actually provided by a former coworker of mine. And he was just like, hey, I've used this for businesses before. You can adapt it then to your uses. Here's how it functions. And kind of gave me just like a general overview. And then we were able to apply that to our own specific situation and then sign it together and, have that on file.
This is so refreshing. I love this interview. I love like meeting people that I'm like, not that I was assuming things, but typically when you go into a space that's like a ceramic studio, you're like prepared.
Disorganized.
You're prepared for like, what are taxes? Like,
we still have confusion on certain things, but we try our best to utilize resources.
But you did your due diligence, which is like something that is unheard of right now. So that's pretty awesome. I mean, I sure as hell didn't know all the things that I needed to know, but I went in alone. So thankfully you have a lot less risk when you go in alone. But so what is the rent for this space? This is what, 2,000 square feet?
Yep, 2,000 square feet, and it's right about 1,800, right?
Well, I think that's with our Wi-Fi.
Is that with Wi-Fi? 1,700 then.
Yeah.
So it's a really reasonable rent rate compared to everything else we looked at.
Yeah. And it's got 2 garage bays.
Yeah, 2 garage doors, big bank of windows, which, the windows are single pane, so it makes it hard to heat and cool and all of that.
Yeah.
But, a lot of spaces that you look at that are affordable are like basement dungeon spaces. It's not like, or we had actually looked at another space in this building, which is how we found this one. This one wasn't listed. But that one was 2nd floor and didn't have a freight elevator or anything. So it was like, it just would never work.
I used to take Clay up and down stairs. That's not fun.
No.
No. And you guys are little. Like, I'm sure you're strong, but like, I'm positive you're strong. But still, 50 pounds when you're walking up and down, that's a lot.
Well, if you're doing only Clay for yourself, that's already a lot, let alone thinking about students and members.
Right, you're grabbing 2,000 pounds every 2 weeks.
No.
Like, no.
Buckets of
Can't
water
do
up
it.
and down the stairs.
Yeah.
So that was a pretty quick hard no for us, and so we had asked the lady who was giving us the tour, like, hey, long shot, but any chance you have something in the range of like 2,000 square feet that would ideally be first floor, have a garage door, it's like a huge plus, natural light, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh my gosh, we thought we had this space leased out, but I think it just came available.
Wow.
Do you want to just take a look at it? We haven't even listed it yet.
Wow.
And so we came in here and it was like filled with,
Immediately knew.
yeah, it was filled with like appliances and
Yeah.
junk. I mean, it didn't look good, but immediately we were both like, oh my gosh, this is it.
This is it. Yeah.
But we like jumped in the parking lot.
We had no
like,
chill.
in each other's arms, like zero chill. They could have been like $1 million for rent. We'd be like, we'll take it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we knew no details at that point.
That's hilarious.
That was probably one of the hardest parts of opening, I think, was trying to determine location and finding a space that was reasonable.
Yeah.
Because you need, specific things. You need the garage. You need some sort of like asphalt or concrete floor usually.
And then trying to input that into our business plan and estimating what our expenses and income would be, it's like you don't really know. You hope that it's going to ramp up to a certain scale at a certain point in time, but when you haven't run a studio before, you're like, I think we are going to spend this much on clay. I think that firings are going to be this expensive, but we don't know how often we're going to fire. We don't know how much it's going to cost to heat the space. We don't know
how many shelves.
how many shelves. We had
Fucking
budgeted.
shelves.
Oh, we budgeted like
The whole,
I
it's
think we
mostly
budgeted
shelves.
$1,000 or $2,000 for shelves or something, and it
something
was
ridiculously
so
small.
ridiculous. I think we spent $5,000 or something.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it was like
The amount there's
On
like
these cheap shelves, they're not
they're
even
not
like,
even
high
like
quality.
they're not even the expensive
I
ones.
built my own shelves when I did my studio, and I swear to you, my neighbor was like, he's like, "Are you ever not building shelves?"
You're like, no, that's all
Like
we
he
do.
would look through his window over the hedge and be like, "Are you like ever
all
not
you
building
do?"
shelves? Like you
Yeah.
just stare at them." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know."
We had a few days where that was all we did with our
Oh, my
lives,
dad
and we were
came
just
up.
depressed. We were like, is this all we're ever gonna do?
Yeah.
For like 8 hours he helped me. Thank God. Yeah, and
Yeah,
there's
there's probably 40 shelves in here, like
Yeah.
40 3-foot by 6-foot shelves.
at least. Probably.
And every time we think we're done, we're like, oh, we need another shelf. Time to go to Menards again.
Yeah, it became a joke. And then we get it back here, like the shelving masonite would be like broken. Like
Have
I
to
think I may have
return
cried
it.
once over the shelves.
Yeah.
For sure.
Awful.
Yeah.
The next shelves I recommend are the Rolly metal ones.
I was looking at some today.
You can get those on Amazon for really cheap, actually. Get the Amazon ones, but unless you want like beefy wheels, those are those are prime. Also, if you want cheap shelf lining, vinyl floor, the vinyl floor tiles, I just put like 2.5 on a shelf,
nice.
and it was like so flat, and then you can clean them off if you need to.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, those are great.
Yeah.
But yeah, your studio is super set. Do you mind if I ask how much was the initial investment?
Yeah, it was right about 40,000 total, right?
Okay.
I think it was like 17.5 each.
Yeah.
Because we put, I
Was
think,
that-
like 13 in, and then we're like, oh shoot, we both need to put like 4.5 more in.
Okay.
And a lot of that second investment, something that we did that felt really helpful was we had really just like, worked hard to book multiple fairs last summer as we were building up to opening. And so we booked multiple fairs under Yellow Door as soon as we had our branding and our name, and did them together. Would pay the booth fee together, sell at them together, and then, say Amanda made whatever, 1,200 and I made 900. We would both agree to reinvest 900 together, to keep it equal.
That is
And
really
so,
smart.
yeah, so it both got our name out there early to where people had some brand recognition, and it helped us to continue to, get some more
Yeah.
capital to put back in.
I've never been to a fair or a show or even a fucking farmer's market where somebody wasn't like, "Oh, do you teach around here?" Yeah.
We've gotten a number of students from those early fairs, and some who have stuck around for quite a period of time.
Yeah, now we have like a little pamphlet that we give out that's like just 3 inches by 5 inches, like a little postcard. And it's like, this is what our 6-week course is. This is private events, private lessons, all of that.
Yeah.
That
'Cause
way,
we have so many
it's
people
more than
ask
just
us
a
about
business
it.
card. That way, yeah,
Yeah.
people kind
What
of form an idea.
Sorry, I'm like really excited. How did you figure out your pricing structure for your classes? I know a ton of people are like, what the fuck, like, do I do with classes? I know when I went, I like looked at other people's classes and tried to kind of emulate that, but still it didn't even work for me. Like, and how many times have you changed?
Well, we've only changed once.
Okay.
We bumped it up $15 a class. Not that far into the sessions, just because we realized that they were booking up quickly, and you know, there was a lot of demand, and our expenses, we had already probably priced it a little low for what we were putting in.
But we had to decide at first, like, between 6 and 8 weeks. That was a big kind of discussion.
What'd you
because
decide
6
on?
weeks you can do 6.
Okay.
We're doing 6 right now.
A little bit cheaper, and then that way, you know, more
More
people
accessible.
can try it. If they don't really like it, they're not stuck there for 12 weeks. You know.
The challenge is it really is a quick session.
Oh, yeah,
so
it is.
it's like by the time you get, you know, some learning going and a class dynamic is formed and so on and so forth, people get used to using the studio. A lot of times they're having to register for another class if they want to keep going. But it is nice that it gives people a really low pressure starting point.
Yes.
But yeah, so we had to think about that, and then we kind of divided out, like, hey, from pricing that we're seeing at various studios in various cities with various offerings.
You spoke to
you know,
Josh. You spoke to Josh, too.
Josh Heim.
Yeah. He's my like super buddy. He's my brother.
He was very
basically.
helpful to talk to. But then we kind of divided out, like, hey, you know, even if it's a place that does 12-week classes, how much is it per class? You know, how much does that come out to be? And then what are our expenses that we're putting in, you know, in terms of time, clay, firings, that sort of thing.
Credit card fees.
Yeah.
Credit card fees, that eats up a lot of your profit. Or more than you would think.
On big purchases for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, because most of our people are paying through Square or PayPal, so you know it's gonna take
It's like
a
a
cut
3%
for each
fee
yeah,
that
for
we
each
take.
thing. Yeah. But so it was kind of a combination of like starting at what other people were charging, making sure we were seeming like we were in a reasonable space, but then trying to think through like our own compensation and making sure that like we could actually pay the bills with it.
Not wanting it to feel like too crowded ever, or like too many classes, not enough space. I think we kind of really had to think through like how many can we realistically fit in a week, and have the actual shelving and not feel like a madhouse.
So how much is your 6-week class?
So right now we're at 220.
Okay.
For the wheel throwing, we can have 10 students in those classes. For hand building, we only have one intro to hand building that we've started, and we do that slightly higher, 245, because it's a smaller class size. So we do like 6 or 7 max in that class.
Okay, so your throwing class has no hand building in it.
Well,
yeah, well,
it has some. I mean, you have elements like handle spouts.
Okay.
You know, we do teach that kind of stuff, especially when you get up to intermediate. But our beginner course is really like for
Just
the
wheel.
new beginner that's never thrown.
Yeah.
Like this is how you throw.
Okay.
Yeah. And then hand building, they're doing, you know, some sculptural works, some coil built works. They've really completed quite a lot in the 6 weeks.
Yeah. And are you guys hiring instructors, or are you guys teaching the classes?
We started by teaching all of them ourselves, and then maybe by the 3rd session, was it? We brought on Kayla.
I'm not sure.
So we're working, we have some contract teachers who will teach, you know, 1 or 2 classes for us. So we've offloaded a few.
Yeah, our first session, it was like we couldn't find really anyone to take some of the classes. So like I got my husband to take it, who hates
As
ceramics,
students, as
a student.
Oh, same. It's always the people you know, and thank God, because they're usually the worst ones.
Yeah.
Like it's the first class that you do, you're like, wait for 2 years from now, and you'll look back and be like, oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I know. I already feel that way. Yeah, no, but that first session, like the Saturday morning class, up until 2 days before the class, we had one person registered.
Yeah.
And, you know, we were like, oh my gosh, that's so awkward.
Yeah, it's like a
And then-
private lesson. For
Yeah,
6
and then we
weeks.
had like one more person register the Friday before, and then, yeah, we convinced our partners to take that class. And then, yeah, so
We did only have
But
4
that was-
classes a week.
that was only 3 classes a week.
Oh, really?
3 6-week classes.
Okay.
That first session, and then, but then the second session, I think we added one, and they all booked.
Yeah. But
And then,
quickly.
yeah, each time we've added, pretty much each session we've added a class or 2, and they've fully booked. Except for this last session, this session that we're in right now, I think there's a bit of a summer lull. That it's
Oh, it's
drawn
always
back,
in the
drawn
summer.
back a little bit. But
Yeah.
even then, you know, we've had really
I think it's
consistent.
like 61 out of 67 students still.
Nice.
So really not like too big of a
Yeah, so we
wall.
started with maybe like 18 students or something that first session in November. And then we've consistently had closer to 65 to 70
Fuck.
at this point.
Nice.
So, yeah. So we're
been
really
great.
just limited by shelving at this point.
Yeah.
Shelving and space are kind of our limiting factors for like not being able to really add more without decreasing the quality
Yeah.
of what we're providing.
And so I imagine, I'm going to assume this next answer, but I'm still going to ask it. Are you planning on doing memberships of any sort, or what's the plan for that? Like, you're not doing, are you doing memberships now? Okay.
So we're currently
how does that
sitting in
work?
the member space.
Okay.
So I've talked a lot, you go on this one.
Yeah, so we have
I feel like I'm
20
taking over.
members.
I can't tell who is the extrovert of this
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
Amanda again, if you didn't know. So we have 20 member spaces right now. We basically either have like $100 half shelf units, which is like 2 of the shelves, or $150 for all 4.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so 20 members. We have actually 31 people on our wait list,
It's absurd.
which is crazy.
So I can start a studio. I'll take your 31.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Well, it's
I'm kidding,
crazy,
I
and you
don't
feel
want to.
bad because we're not having a whole lot of turnover at this point either. Like we look at
And you won't.
We look at our member roster, and it's by and large people who really want to be here.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's pretty wild. But they have access like 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. every day of the week.
Okay.
And then we've kind of created this like separate section for them with these wheels over here so that they never have to worry about like coming in during a class and not having a place to work.
Great.
Yeah, that was a big thing for us, I think, opening. Because I feel like at a lot of studios, as a member, you feel like you're kind of tiptoeing around the classes. And we just want it to be like, even if we have private events, lessons, whatever is going on over there, you can always come
You
over
still
here.
have
Yeah,
your
that's
own
great.
space to work.
Yeah.
So
Wow. So 20 members. We'll say from looking around at these spaces, you probably have half, 150 to, what was it, 100 for the half shelf?
yeah,
we
we
have
have
more
It's
half
more
shelves.
half shelves because most
Half
people, I think most people find that they can function with a half shelf.
Yeah. Half shelf is a lot of space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
4 people that are renting full shelves.
Okay.
yep.
Do you feel, so with those, do you charge per firing? Are you doing the, however much space like Josh does with the fire? Okay.
We don't
How
get
do you-
too nitty gritty about it. We
Okay.
do by the pound.
Okay.
So the theory obviously is that like more or less weight is going to correlate with size
Okay.
to some extent, but it depends on the
Yeah.
person.
So it's $1 per pound
for bisque.
for bisque,
for
$1.25 glaze, and they can use our glazes.
Okay, $1 per pound per bisque. So you basically just put it on the scale before you put it in the kiln, and then $1.25 per glaze. Same.
Yep.
Yeah, we have like a little sheet that we have them fill out,
Okay.
and then they just like preload credits, a lot
Okay.
of them. So then you just, once a week we take that stack of papers, detract it, and then let them know when they're out. So
It's worked out to be a really painless process. That way we're not having to track, like, did you send money for this firing?
Right.
We can just take the sheet and input it, and it's kind of a more seamless system for them. They can just preload, $50 or something, and
Yeah.
then detract from that over time.
And they have other kind of perks too, like they get 10% off clay, and they get 25% off classes if they ever want to take one.
How much is clay?
Just depends on Kentucky Mudworks. So we go like based off of their pricing.
Okay. So plus shipping, obviously.
Well, we cover shipping.
You cover shipping?
So, yeah, so they get 10% off the list price. So, I mean, we get enough bulk that
You get a discount.
Yeah, we get a slightly larger discount, so we kind of calculated it to say, hey, based on our, like, pallet, you know, our freight shipping and our lift gate, you know, how much of a discount can we pass along? So it's kind of priced into that.
They don't order that much clay. It's really just mostly for us in
classes, mostly, yeah.
Can they bring clay in?
If they can prove that it's Cone 6.
Yeah.
If not, if it's a question, then no.
We had a member recently wanting to fire some clay that had been, you know, just dug up. And so we had them fire it in a bisque bowl just to test it, and it, slumped.
It did not pass the test?
It didn't pass the test. So, yeah, we will sometimes, you know, allow people to try something, but generally speaking, it's like, yeah, if you want to bring in your own glazes, if you want to bring in your own clay, go for it, but we need to be able to see that it's a Cone 6.
Yeah. Yeah, pass the test. Make sure it doesn't explode or
you know,
melt.
Yeah.
Well, worse, melt.
Yeah.
All over the kilns. Okay, so I'm sorry I'm asking like all these technical questions, but I feel like anybody that's going to start a studio, this is what they're going to.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, how does the glazing work? Like with students and with members, like how do you make sure that you know whose pieces are whose? Like if it stays on the shelf for a certain amount of time, like what are you doing with that? You know, like how does that work for you guys?
You mean like once it's totally finished, how long do we hold it?
Yeah. And how do you make sure you know whose it is? Like, are people always signing their pieces? Like, what's the deal with that?
Yeah, we have everyone always sign. Sometimes things come through that haven't been.
We also
but
have
we try
like
to encourage that.
a class side and a member side. So like we have 3 shelves, 4 members, 3 for the class, and then that way, because we're the only 2 people that load the kiln, we usually know if it is a member pot. So we'll put it over there in their membership agreement. I think it technically says that they only have like not very long, like 2 weeks or something to pick it up, but because it hasn't been that
We haven't had
crazy
problems
busy in
with
here,
it.
yeah, we haven't really had to enforce that. And then on the class side, because we go into that next session so fast, usually we'll give them like a month, so we send out like a follow-up email, like this is the date that we will throw everything away.
Have you thrown things away?
We've had to throw some away.
Yep.
There are definitely some pots that we try to give people as much grace as we can. So we say a month. It's really probably more like a month and a half that we actually give. And at that point, it's like, yeah, we gotta move it on.
Yeah.
But we try to be really generous with the amount of time and the warnings that we give. But
yeah.
Well, the one night pots, I feel like, where people come in, you know, just Friday night
those
for 2 hours,
always
they
go in
never,
the trash.
Yeah, those almost never get picked up.
Yeah.
We do try to hold them like.
yeah, we hold them for like
5 or
3
6
months. Yeah, we hold them
it's
for a
like
long
crazy.
time.
And we just.
And then when you throw them away the next week, they're like, "Did you have my pot?"
We had someone stop in who
Yeah.
Our very first class.
very
November
first
12th.
ever class, they stopped in maybe 2 weeks ago to try and pick up their pots.
Yeah.
And we're like,
I kind of felt bad, but I was like, we
like,
sent
it's
so
been
many
so
emails.
long. Yeah. It's been so long. We've sent like literally 4 or 5 emails, I think. So we've tried to streamline some things where 6-week classes, most of our emails are manual. Like we'll send them out to the whole class roster. One night classes, private events, that sort of thing, we've set up email automations
Okay.
so that it's like, hey, 3 weeks after the class, they automatically get an email
Yeah.
that says, your pots are ready, here are the times you can pick them up, et cetera, et cetera. Then, 2 months after their class, they get a warning email that says like, hey, after 3 months, your pot is going to go. And so, you have 1 more month to pick it up.
Yeah.
So some of those things have really helped to save us time,
Guilt.
energy, and effort and guilt.
Yeah.
When it comes to those throwing away.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, you always feel bad throwing it away, but with 2,000
Really?
square feet, oh, I do.
I
Yeah. I'm
never
this is
felt
their piece
bad.
of
I don't
art.
feel bad. I don't feel bad about the one night classes. I do feel bad about the 6-week ones. Until it, like, every now and then we've neglected to throw something away for a long period of time, and then when I'm looking at it, I'm like, that was 3 months ago. I don't feel bad anymore. But I think you do.
I do.
I have a friend, Joe Bott, who owns a studio in Utah, and we always talk about how we love throwing pieces away.
Will you come do ours?
I just wish I
would
had.
love to. I'll bring a bat. We can.
Well,
we
I think
can-
if I had a more therapeutic way of destructing them, I would feel more excited. Like we used to have a pot smashing wall in college.
Oh,
that you
hell
could
yeah.
throw it against.
That'd be awesome.
That was fun. It's less satisfying than just like dump it in a dumpster.
Oh,
And
for
then a
sure.
trash bag.
Yeah, that's not very fun.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Yeah. Krista, who works in our studio, who I realize that I still have her bat, has a metal bat that she takes pots and like smashes them.
Oh, wow.
Fun.
And like, yeah, it's very she's got a lot of rage inside of her.
She can be your assistant.
Yeah, she's got a lot
Come together.
It's so funny. She's very passionate. So what's the thing that you struggle with the most, do you think, as far as you're like, ugh, I've changed this way of doing this like 15 times and it's not working out. Reclaim. Okay. That was quick.
Probably. That's our most hated studio task, at least.
I don't know. I feel like I'm getting into it
Really?
lately.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do you have a pug mill?
We got one recently on a school surplus site and didn't realize that it's keyed. And they didn't send us with the key, so we need to get a locksmith to, like, the power on and off is operated by a key.
Really?
Yeah. So
We're figuring it out.
we will eventually get it working. It's just not been our top priority right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So currently we're just
Using plaster.
using plaster bats and wedging.
Oh no.
I know.
Very stinky.
Stinky manual labor.
Yeah.
How many let's see, where do people put their clay, like,
Members?
no, not members, like, where does the reclaim go before it goes on the plaster bats? Like, are we doing 5-gallon buckets, trash can?
A
Yeah.
full
A
trash
full trash
can.
can.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah, we have a light and a dark clay trash can, and then just empty out.
Yeah. Members are responsible for their own, so that helps to keep it in check a little bit.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, those
Yeah.
fill up pretty fast.
And then usually we
So-
use the reclaim for one-night classes. So
Mhm.
we'll just switch that out, and then we've been using a lot of the speckled turtle, like darker reclaim,
Mm-hmm.
just for our own work.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like you can't make like that big of stuff with it, or it just wants to crack everywhere. 'Cause it's
Not that
Not the best
structurally
clay.
consistent. Yeah.
Oh yeah, at work we use regular turtle, big turtle.
Uh-huh.
It
cracks a lot.
Yeah.
It doesn't crack as much as it's very short, just naturally. And so, like, when you're throwing with it, you really have to get a good handle on it, and you have to compress the shit out of it, like
Yeah.
the rims and stuff. So
Yeah.
it can be a
Yeah,
bitch.
it's very finicky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we all still use it.
We all still love it. I don't know.
Right. It's great. It's great. It's just like you love to hate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you gonna do? We love you, Link.
I don't know. What would you answer for that question?
I was trying to think of like things that we've like changed a lot, and I don't really know that we've like changed a lot of things over and over. But when you say like difficulty, I'm like, oh, finances and QuickBooks. That's
Uh-huh.
the one thing that is.
QuickBooks are hard to
confusing
stay on
to
top
me.
of and feel like we're doing it right. I would say sometimes too, just like our own scheduling for ourselves, like because we have our class schedule, we have our formal hours that it's like I teach this class, I cover this open studio,
Right.
here are my times, but then figuring out when we're here, when we're thinking about work, when we're not.
Boundaries.
Like boundaries feel hard at times.
How many hours do you think you guys are working a week right now?
We try to keep it to 40, but it varies on the week because then there's our own personal work too.
Right.
So it kind of depends on if you're counting
It's
any
so
time
hard 'cause
spent at
it's
the
like-
studio or
Well, it's like you work every day, like a little bit, but then like
how much is it actually?
a couple days ago, it's like if I'm not feeling good, like I just don't come in, you know, or I
Right.
take a half day the day before. So I feel like it probably evens
It probably
out.
evens out.
We took like a pool day last week. We're gonna take a pool
I
day
saw
this
that.
afternoon.
I was so jealous.
Hey, you should come.
Mm-hmm.
We're going there today.
I am the type of person that would take you up on
Yeah,
that.
do it. Just drink some margaritas.
Everybody,
make stupid reels.
everybody in the podcast like group knows that I have been like, I want a hot tub and I want a pool. Like,
Yes.
I had a dream last night.
Did you really?
About the fact that in Indiana you cannot like swim in any of the lakes or any of the rivers. It's like, what the fuck? And when you're in Washington, it's like all of them are open.
Yeah.
You know, it's so clean.
Yeah.
And it's not the same here, and it's so
we're
frustrating.
freaking polluted.
Yeah, it is. It's so sad.
Did you know that all the city pools are free this summer?
What?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, all the Indy Parks pools are free to anyone who lives in Marion County all summer.
What?
That's amazing.
Wow.
That's
They
amazing.
should have done that a long time ago,
When did you find this out?
Yeah.
like a month ago. I didn't know that
Alyssa.
people didn't know. Now you know.
Of course we don't know.
I am like flabbergasted.
Yeah,
right
go to the pool. Play on a splash pad.
You're gonna be like, oh, Amanda's been sick a lot lately. I'm just gonna come in tan.
What up, y'all?
Yeah. I love the pool. That's
Oh
like
my
my
gosh.
favorite.
Oh my gosh.
It's so fun.
If I had a pool, I'd literally be in it every single day, all day.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Mm.
Yeah.
I'm like a fucking
no work
fish.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We play like horse with the little basketball.
Whose pool is it?
It's
She
I'm
dog
dog
sits.
sitting. I'm dog sitting for a couple that have a very nice pool.
Nice.
So
That's great.
yeah, it's not too bad.
Yeah.
It's not too shabby.
Okay, so do you guys pay yourselves?
Mhm.
Yes.
And how do you do that? Like, is it monthly? Is it weekly? What's the breakdown? I'm not gonna ask you how much you pay
Yeah.
yourself, but
We do monthly, and so yeah, we've been very fortunate to feel like we have enough leeway in the account to have been paying ourselves since January, which is crazy.
okay,
Um,
great.
'cause
And
we-
you started in when?
November,
Okay.
so we were fully prepared
and
for.
it's June.
Yes.
Yes.
It's
Okay.
currently June. So yeah, so we've been paying ourselves at the end of each month. We will cut a check, together.
Is it the same
Um,
amount or
same amount.
okay, cool. Like, I mean, I know it's the same amount
Yep.
for you two, but it's the same
Oh,
amount like every month, or is it a percentage?
More or less, we have a starting place that will
Okay.
say, hey, based on how we're doing right now, does it seem like this is appropriate? Should we take a tiny bit more or a tiny bit less or whatever?
Okay.
So we're
Especially if
trying,
it's a hard month.
huh?
If it's a hard month, we're like, should we take just like
Just a tiny bit more to
$500
make it feel
more.
better. But it's like, generally speaking, we're trying to hold ourselves to kind of what we had agreed upon early on, just because we don't know what the seasons are going to look like
Yeah.
in terms of
and we are not
registrations
like,
and
rich. I want to put that out there.
no.
Oh yes, yes. Please say that.
Yeah, we're not rich, and we're trying to be reasonable with what we take out, so that there's enough for if we have an emergency or a slow season or whatever. So we're being pretty measured with like, this is how much we take.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of strange because over time, it's like once you kind of hit this capacity point, like there's not that much more room for income when you're limited by the space. So it's like you can't just be like, oh, I'm gonna add 10 more members, and that way it's
More money,
$1,000 extra
yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah, you can't overload what you have capacity for,
Yeah.
both in time and space, and
Right. It's kind of like a blessing and a curse at the same time. It's like you can't grow, but at the same time, you're the same size as you were last month, so it's predictable.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Something else I was gonna say. Well, let's not wait around. I'll mention it if I think of it.
Ding, ding.
Oh, taxes.
That helps.
Oh yes, taxes. Let's
Taxes
talk
are
about
awful.
that. They are.
And it's like you're familiar with this, I'm sure, but it's like on at least your like self-employment income, you're just taxed at a higher rate. So that
30%.
is, yeah. So that's something that I feel like we were aware of based on reading about it.
Yeah.
it
hurts
always
a little more.
feels like a lot because, we're paying in quarterly estimated taxes, and I guess just when you're at like a 9 to 5 and they're taking it out for you, it feels less painful than when you're delving into your bank account to what it feels like you already made.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, every
Paying that
month,
out.
like I'll get my check and then I just put a third of it into my
we
savings.
try to set it aside.
So I have like a specific tax.
So are you guys, you're not an S Corp?
Mm-mm.
No. Are you an LLC?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, we're a
Dual partnership.
dual partnership
Dual
LLC.
partnership
Yeah.
LLC, okay.
So the business technically files taxes but doesn't pay taxes.
Okay.
We then pay it.
Have you considered going to an S
Ourselves.
Corp? I believe, I'm not positive, but I believe that an S Corp is when you actually make yourself an employee of the company and you pay yourself, so you're not actually having to pay those
Taxes.
self-employment taxes. The business pays the taxes, and then you pay. You would just get a regular paycheck.
We should probably like
Look into
consult
that
with
more.
someone.
Yeah. And you
Our-
guys are doing your own books right now, right?
Well, we are doing all the filing. We had an accountant help with the business taxes, like calculating all of that. But then as far as like paying our own estimated taxes, that's all,
Yeah.
we're doing that ourselves.
And your quarterly, like, and your sales taxes for the
Yep,
state.
we're
and-
doing all of that. So, yeah, it would help to consult with someone probably to make sure that we're in the right spot.
Yeah, I don't know, are you guys using, what's your platform for the, like, income? Like, is it a website, like Square, what's the,
We're using, you mean in terms of like,
how you're collecting money
how
and
we're
like,
collecting it? Yeah, so we have Square and PayPal integrated with our website for all of our sales on our website at
Okay.
least. Fairs we do through Square, and then all of that ports into QuickBooks.
okay, ports into QuickBooks. Oh,
And
fun.
then we do Wave for our own, like
Yeah.
personal. It's like a free
Free
program, kind
version.
of like QuickBooks. That's
Yeah.
I think a little easier.
Yeah, it's very easy to navigate for our like personal ceramic sales using Wave.
Yeah, good, good.
So, and it lets you do like free invoicing, that type of thing.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I would recommend getting a bookkeeper.
Okay.
It's
Do you have someone you use that you would recommend?
I don't, because I'm not from here. But if like maybe ask your mom or something if she has something, because she's an accountant, right?
Yeah, but she lives in Kentucky.
Of course she does.
Maybe when you're old
Our-
coworkers.
Yeah, well, our current tax recommendation came from one of my old coworkers, but then our accountant died.
Your accountant
And we
died?
didn't know.
And we didn't know, and then they emailed us like a month later and they were like, oh, by the way, he died.
That's not okay.
No. It was terrible.
That's so sad.
So,
Yeah, so what I would say is, well, first of all, you can do a lot of your quarterly estimated taxes and payroll taxes with Square. It's pretty seamless. And I don't think it's that much money. Worth the money. Worth the money, for sure. Whatever it is. It could be $35. It would be worth the money. But yeah, if you can, even if you find like a bookkeeper or an accountant that just checks in like once a quarter or something, just to make sure you're doing everything right, especially with something like this and how much liability that you guys have, it would be helpful to do
well,
that.
it's so much more effort too to try and fix it at the end of the year tax time.
So much more. So much more. And like the ease of knowing that you're in line financially, it takes a lot of the time off of you too. And they're kind of like responsible for that, which is nice. I mean, you still have to like answer questions and stuff, but you know, even if they do the quarterlies or Square does the quarterly or somebody, you know, it might be, that's what I would recommend.
Yeah.
I always recommend that. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter
Yeah, we
what
can look
business you
into
have.
it.
I'm
Yeah.
always like, get a
Yeah, we
fucking
should.
accountant, get a bookkeeper.
We at least erred on the side of trying to overpay.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
to hopefully make it less painful when it actually comes around to it.
Yeah, for
But-
sure. I've always tried to keep, because it was just me, I've always tried to keep my businesses as flat as I can as far as finance like so many expenses, as many expenses as you can. But when you're in a partnership like that, you cannot do that. So you will be paying a lot of money in taxes. And so, yeah, it's good to know.
Yeah.
Like, Melissa's better at QuickBooks than I am.
Yeah.
So I was like, can you just make me some categories where it's like staples are always
This.
Yeah.
Office supplies.
Well, thankfully with QuickBooks,
whatever.
they will auto rule it, but it is a pain in the ass to figure out for sure.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any like recommendations or advice for people if they wanted to start a studio, or like it can be anything from like don't or to like
No, do I mean,
Yeah,
it's been
do
a good
it.
choice.
yeah.
There's a lot of things.
There's several
yeah.
things.
It's like making sure there's a market for it where you are. Oh God, there's so many
We
things.
early things we did.
Ask for help.
Yeah, ask for help. Ask for advice. We both scaled into it, so we had like gone down to part-time, so that we would have time for the business planning aspects leading up to it. And so, every Tuesday we would meet in Amanda's house and just work on our computer stuff, work on branding, work on emails,
Good.
work on finances, work on whatever. So that helped to give us some space and leeway to plan while still having some income.
Really thinking through, I think, like your design.
Our branding was
Branding.
very
was
important.
Ross Schaefer from Indy.
He was amazing. And someone remotely could also use him. We did basically everything virtually with him, and it was fabulous.
Yeah.
And
Who was it again?
Ross Schaefer.
Okay.
His Instagram is We Choose the Moon,
Okay.
and he was incredible to work with. So that, I think, really set us up well early on. The fairs, that was a good way to get into getting our name out there as well as making some money.
Work at a job you hate for 5 years to save some money.
Yeah.
Try to do it debt free if you can, because you could sleep better at night, I think.
Boundaries.
Boundaries.
Sorry, I just had to add that.
Work
in.
with and work with someone you trust. I mean, obviously, like not everyone has the ability to
Right.
do it with someone, but that's been, I think, each of our biggest asset is that we both bring in different
Yeah.
skill sets, and when we have questions or concerns about something, we hash it out together.
Yeah.
And so that helped us with figuring out what we didn't know too, because sometimes Amanda would come to the table and be like, "Hey, I have this question. I think we should figure this out." And I'd be like, "I didn't even think about that. You're so right.
Yeah.
Let's work on it."
And you guys aren't like lifelong friends too. You're like newish friends. So that like when I say I don't work with friends, that's the people that I've known forever. I feel like this is a good
Yeah.
because you're like new enough to be like, no.
Yeah.
Well, it's like I trust Felissa.
Yeah.
It's like I would, if I, had to leave the business for 3 months, like I would trust any decision that she made. And I give her my social over the phone all the time. Like you have to be able to want to be able to give someone your social if they're your business partner.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
having,
I trust her insight and wisdom on like decisions that she would make, things she would put out into the world.
yeah.
Yeah.
But also, I think that having that contract in place probably adds to that trust.
Oh, I'm sure.
Right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I'm not like a legal person, so I read it like 4 times. I was like, I get the gist. I think.
Yeah. I tried my best to explain all the
Yeah.
little things. as
I'll
well
just
as I
accept the
could.
consequences
Yeah.
later.
We
She
bought
gets the deed to my house.
Yeah. We bought used where we could. So a lot of things we
Facebook
were able to
Marketplace.
source. Yeah, like I found this table on Facebook Marketplace, that table on Facebook Marketplace, that table on Facebook Marketplace, that table on FreeCycle.
The kiln.
The kilns were both Facebook Marketplace. I found the sink on Facebook Marketplace.
Hell yeah.
Like, I mean, we probably saved $7,000, $8,000 at least,
Oh, at least.
if not more. Those wheels I drove to Columbus, Ohio for the Brents.
I've done that.
Yep.
Yeah,
Strapped
they
them into
kind
my
of-
backseat like children.
I drove to Portland in the worst storm I've ever been in to get the worst wheel I've ever had.
I mean, the used pottery market right now is crazy.
Yeah.
It's hard to find stuff. So when we found things, I mean, the sink specifically, that was like a big win. I stored that in my garage for like 4 months leading
So
up to the studio.
this sink is probably 10 feet long, and it's got three
So
bays,
three basin, two faucets,
two faucets.
stainless steel. So those without the faucets new are at least
Thousands.
$1,000
Yeah.
or more. And
Are you doing a clay trap in there? Was it handmade, or what? Did you buy it?
our plumber installed it. So
Sweet.
that was
That was another big operating.
to figure out how to get things going in here. So like we did not have updated electrical, updated lighting. We didn't have HVAC in here.
No plumbing.
No plumbing. And so we negotiated with the landlord, and this was, kind of a helpful tack that we took for it was like the improvement expenses. Initially, he wanted us to cover all of it.
Right.
And so he got a quote for it, of what it would take to install all of that. And we negotiated with him to say, hey, what if we pay all of that up front, all of the cost, but then you cover 50% of it in reduced or free rent for however many months.
Okay.
So we built that into the lease, saying like, hey, you don't have to, put your money on the line. We will do it. But then because they're permanent leasehold improvements, can you cover 50% in terms of like not having us pay rent for this period of time? So that actually really helped too, as we were starting to not have the pressure of like for 2.5 months, we were able to be like, hey, we're rent free at least for that period of time.
Because the space was empty and not being used prior to that.
Yeah,
So it's,
so
like,
it felt like we had some
beneficial for the landlord.
negotiating.
Were
room on
you
that.
paying rent while you were renovating the space?
So no. So like, they started working on it, I would say in July or August, on their like, their obligations, the HVAC, the electrical, all of that, maybe in August.
September we started
And-
painting.
Yeah, no, October, right?
No,
Late
so
September?
Late September, yeah, we came in.
They gave us access to start painting this wall. It's a 70-foot wall.
72 feet.
Yeah, it was very long. It was a
It
lot
took
of
3
work.
weeks.
It was so much work. We had to prime it and then paint it twice and scrape it,
We'll
power
show you
wash it.
pictures
Oh, it was
after.
awful.
I think I might have seen pictures.
Yeah, it was a lot of work.
That is something, I used to work for a painting company, and that was something I would never wish upon anyone.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it was a lot of work. And so they gave us early access to start doing that. And then I think
All of October we put it together.
our lease, quote unquote, began in October.
okay.
Yep.
And so, but we still were not paying at that point because that was
Because
3
of the
months.
thing, yeah.
So it began October.
You
and
opened
then we
November.
opened November, so on and so forth.
Sweet.
So I think we began paying rent halfway through December. Is that right?
I can't.
Actually cutting checks. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. It
For
was like
that.
$300, I think.
Which was great because at that point we were starting to actually take on a decent number of members too.
Yeah.
Who helped to cover some of that.
Nice. Wow.
Was your studio in Washington?
Yeah, it was definitely like, it was not planned like yours was. Mine was, I went out to lunch with a friend and she said, if you're gonna make something bigger, the money will come. And I was like, okay. And then like that
Should
night,
get that on a fortune cookie?
yeah, basically. And then that night, I looked on Facebook and found a space on Main Street in the town that was down towards civilization to Seattle. So it was 20,000 people in Main Street, and it was 3,000 square feet, $1,800 for rent. Leaky ceiling. Like, used to be a dance studio. Used to be a floor store. So it had different wood flooring all the way through. And that was a stressful moment. And and I just like made it up as I went. And I can tell you all the things not to do.
Do you
Because
have any for us?
I've done them all.
Yeah.
No, you guys are doing great. I don't want to tell you anything because you're doing fantastic. Like, you're doing so much better than I did. I switched mostly to members, and it was a tiny town. Like, you're in Indianapolis, so you have like all of these people that are willing to come. Like, I literally had 20,000 people. My whole first class was all people I knew. It was a total shit show. And I moved my wheels around maybe 15,000 times just to, because I'm like also ADHD and potentially autistic. So like my spatial awareness is really important, and I could not figure it out. Like I couldn't figure out how to make the space work. And I also had a paint your own pottery studio in the front. So it was paint your own pottery, regular pottery, classes, and then I was doing my own production work as well. So I was doing like 4 jobs.
Did you get burnt out?
Holy shit, yes. That's why I came here.
Yeah.
I was working 4 jobs, 90 hours a week, going away on the weekends to sell in a town that was an hour and a half away for the whole weekend, living in my van over there, and then coming back. And at the same time, sold my house, living in the studio for part of the time. Then I moved across the street and lived in my friend's office that was a house. And yeah, I like my biggest recommendation, which you guys are already doing, is boundaries, because I had none. Like I had none, and I just hated my life. It was terrible. And so I actually, when COVID hit, the whole shop shut down March 25th, and I was like sitting in my. I made so much money that week because I started doing take-home kits and stuff like that. And for paint and pot, and then take-home kits for kids, like with a pound of clay, and they'd bring it back and glaze it. And I was sitting in my friend's driveway. I was house sitting, and I was like, I fucking hate my life. Like, I had a moment to think about it. I had like a day to just like relish in the fact that I was working myself to death. And then I texted Rebecca, who owns Graves Co. Pottery, and I was like, do you need a production potter? And she was like, come on down. It took me a year to sell it, like to sell everything. I didn't end up selling the business I was going to, but it dropped twice. And so I ended up just selling all the shit. I wish that I would have kept some of it.
Yeah.
But I like didn't think that I was moving here in a big truck or anything. You know, I thought I had like a little trailer. But yeah, I ended up getting out free and clear. Like I did have an EIDL loan at the time, and I paid off if I hadn't sold my house at the time, I paid off all my debts from that. So I just did everything wrong. And that's why I do things right now. But that's my biggest thing, is just like, once you start not liking it, you need to start listening to that and figure out what needs to change.
Yeah.
Because when that starts happening, it will only get worse. And like, I don't love teaching in person to person. I'm totally fine with like teaching online and stuff like that. But I just don't have the capacity to teach in person. And I'm a great teacher, right? Good at teaching. But it took a lot to get there, and at the end I was just like, I don't fucking care.
This isn't what I enjoy.
Like, do whatever you want. Like, you don't even care about this anyway. Like, knowing which students are there to get away from their family and their children for an hour and are there to actually be a potter are completely they're different, and you have to know. And so yeah, but I made so many good friends from the members, and they became family, and like, I don't regret it at all. I just wouldn't do it again. You know, it's a lot. And like what you guys are doing, you've got your boundaries in check, you've got each other in check, which I think is great. And like the fact that you kind of progressed in this way, and you're holding steady instead of like trying to figure out how to change, I think that's important. And it's good. And being content with where you are and learning while you go is really good. It's a good way to like make sure that you're, you know, that you have lifelong members. And the fact that you have 30 people on your waiting list, like, and nobody's budging, that's great. Because then eventually maybe you can get a member studio up there, and it's only for members, and you have 60 members, you know. But like, you don't need to do that now. You're in your first year.
Yeah, a lot of people will be like, "Oh, when's Yellow Door 2 coming?"
Yeah,
you know, it's a second location. We're like, we're not doing it.
We're like, we want to work together.
Yeah, we're not
That's
interested in opening a location in Carmel and then splitting off, and you know.
I think that it's really important to hold to that, and like, I mean, you're such a baby business, and the biggest thing in our world right now is making baby businesses into big businesses and those crashing. You know, like I keep saying, I said this like a couple weeks ago, business in the United States right now is like MLM marketing. It's like, it's like, look at all the things that you can do. Oh my gosh, you're a mom? You can be a business owner. And it's like, no, you can't. Not if you're not going to take it seriously, and not if you're not going to like stick with something for a hot second. You know, like just because you want to sell something online doesn't mean you're a business owner. And being a business owner takes a lot of work, and it takes a lot of brains, and a lot of people that are ceramics people start businesses and they can't continue it because they don't do the research on taxes, they don't do the research on liability, all those things, you know. Luckily, I had that all under control. I had the business side all under control. Like most of it, at least.
Yeah.
As far as the finance, that was just, I started when I was 24. but yeah, and I'm lucky that I have friends that, you know, also have had businesses. And put in contracts and stuff. Like I had contracts for every single one of my members that they wouldn't sue me, you know.
Yeah, we have
a membership agreement that we use.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't do that, you know. So
well, it saves you too in case, you know, someone is bringing down the whole group. You
Yeah.
know, like being inappropriate.
We wanted to have protections against, like, hey, if you're harassing someone, we can give you the boot.
Yeah.
You know, we need to have agreements on how we treat people here.
Yeah. I had, so the first studio that I ever was a part of, he was a production potter, and that's what I kind of based my studio off of. And he was a Scientologist. So the rules in the studio was no religion, no health, no politics. And it was good. It was great. And like we all knew that he was a Scientologist. They had the little pamphlets at the front door. But we never talked about that stuff because everybody respected that rule, and it's hard when you like to talk about that stuff, but that's kind of the rule we had in our studio too. And it helped a lot because in this time and age, like coming into a studio space and people are talking about politics, and you may be the one person and nobody knows that you don't believe in anything that they're talking about, and you feel uncomfortable. And yeah, so those are, I don't know, just babbling on, but that's
I second.
Yeah. I had another thought about something that I think has been helpful to us. Well, two things. One is we got some good early publicity through the Indie Star.
Yeah.
Was really helpful. I know that's probably not like accessible to everyone to get some sort of like publication like that, but that really helped us to broaden our audience a bit. And then the other thing I was thinking about was like social media. That like we try to keep it moderately professional and consistent, but then we also are just ourselves.
Yeah.
And that I think we try not to overthink it. And we try to communicate like the type of people that we are, the type of space that we're creating.
Yeah.
And I think that's gone a long way too, because people can also just see that we're human and you know, we like what we do and we have fun.
Yeah. Speaking of social media, where did the cat go?
Oh, that's
Amanda's
my cat.
house.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, that's Olive.
Yeah, I found her at a park and then Amanda took her home.
Yeah.
So
she
no-
knew we wanted a cat.
Yeah.
So
He's the cutest
no
kitten.
studio cats?
No,
No.
we have some members that are allergic.
Oh no.
Yeah.
And
it's like
also,
just- it'd
like
be
a
hard to
cat would
clean.
probably F up all the pots.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised. I had 3
No?
studio cats.
Really?
Really?
I feel like Sunshine, my cat Sunshine would probably be a good studio
Oh, he'd
cat.
be great.
Yeah.
He's awesome. He's the friendliest ever.
Lloyd was a super great studio cat. I had Lloyd and Floyd, and then
Oh.
Tidbit, and Tidbit is like the most gingerly cat. Like she would walk around all of the things to make sure she didn't hit it. Lloyd's the same way. Floyd, everything,
Fucked it all
everything.
up.
Like he was the dumbest
Olive
fucking
would be.
cat.
Olive would destroy everything.
Yeah. But Floyd would sit with all of the people and paint with them. Like he was the people's cat. Lloyd was my cat. That's why I have Lloyd now. But yeah, definitely.
Cute.
Yeah.
Just like a cat cafe pottery
Cat.
studio.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what someone needs to open.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you just have to have signs on the door that says "There's cats here."
There are
Yeah.
cats.
Mhm.
Yeah. I had to keep Benadryl in my thing just in case people
Just in
came
case,
in.
yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Well, I think that's it. Okay, I have one last question, not pottery related at all. But if you had to watch one TV show or movie for the rest of your life, what would it be?
For the rest of my life?
Or not?
Yeah.
Okay, but like
Like
you could watch
on
over
loop?
and over. Yeah, like.
Or
that-
could I just elect not to watch TV anymore?
I mean, I guess, but like, what's that one movie that you could watch over and over, or that show that you could watch over and over?
Oh,
so you just love
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter. For
That's like nostalgic. I feel
Amanda.
like I could be
Yeah.
80 and still watch that. And I'm not
Okay.
like a super fan, but it's like put it on in the background.
Right.
Which Felicia's still never seen all the Harry Potters.
Me neither.
I haven't. Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't like them. I don't.
See,
Did
I
you
loved
only not like the
reading
first
them.
one? No, I just don't like the general concept.
Oh.
So
Did you read them? Did you like
no,
reading them?
I was not allowed to read them.
I wasn't either, but then I read them as an adult, and I was like, "Ooh, this is kind of fun." But I don't
wasn't-
like watching them.
So what's ironic about my life is that I was not allowed to watch them because they had witches and
Same.
wizards, because I grew up in a religious family. And then my mom read the first one, and then fast forward 5-10 years, they're now her favorite movies, and she's read all the books
Of course.
multiple times. And and
She's a wizard.
and so they have and so they have like Harry Potter themed nights for like New Year's, and I was like, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
I think
you
it's
don't have to like it that much.
Which-
Like,
Yeah.
Felicia's only seen, I think, the first one. And I'm like, you cannot base the whole series off of that shitty
No,
first
I mean,
one.
I do think I like them. It's just like my imagination is enjoying
Oh, but they're so
the
well
books.
done.
You know, like I read them and my imagination flew away, and then
Never
I
came
don't
back.
know if it never came back.
I think that the reason I don't like them, because I did like
Do you like Twilight?
no, I did like
Hunger Games.
the wizard.
She made me read the Hunger
I love
Games
the
this year.
the Hunger Games
Okay,
and the books. I did like the wizard animal one. The,
Narnia?
no, it's the Harry Potter based off of like the wizards, and he like has animals and like
Oh, see, I'm not a super fan.
Okay, well,
Yeah,
Not
unsure.
sure.
I don't remember what
Sounds
it's
cool.
called. But I think that the reason I didn't like Harry Potter was because it had to do with kids.
Oh,
And
But they don't stay kids.
but they do. They do kind of stay kids, and
Young adults.
I couldn't relate to it because I watched it when I was older, and I couldn't relate to it, and I didn't like it. Like that's right. Okay, what's
That's
your
okay. You don't have to like it.
Felissa? What's
Well,
your?
see, I don't know, because I feel like I don't like rewatching things that much.
Oh,
And so I would probably just elect to never watch again. I would just read.
What's your favorite
But,
movie?
what books could you read over and over
Oh,
again?
she is a big reader.
oh.
Hunger Games.
I did really like reading them.
You can have them again.
They were fun.
Yeah.
I really like V.E. Schwab. She writes, like,
Right.
she writes, like, young adults, fantasy fiction,
Okay.
witchiness, but it's like, they're just really good. I don't know.
Cool. Say
Yeah.
that. Say the author.
V.E. Schwab.
Okay.
I read, like, the Darker Shade of Magic series was excellent.
Okay.
The Near Witch.
Nice.
So now you love the witches.
Ooh, yeah.
And the bitches.
Oh, Magical Beasts. That's what it
Magical
was.
Beasts.
I know
Magical
it.
Beasts for
My
Harry
husband
Potter.
made me watch that last night. The
Oh.
one that just came out.
You literally watched it and last night, and I was talking about
told
it.
him I couldn't finish it.
Really? Why?
I ducked out. I don't know. I just did not
Too
think it
much?
was great.
I liked the
was just
first
not
one that he
good.
did.
Yeah. Well,
I
the first one
do-
apparently is really good. Second one is like horrible, and third one is like I don't
Yeah.
know yet.
Yeah.
I also love animated movies like Coco.
Ugh. Oh,
I could watch something like that.
Moana.
Moana.
have you seen Encanto?
Yes, it's so
Okay,
good.
so I went through an anxiety moment with Encanto, and I legit, like, straight up, like, my meds were fucked up, and I legit watched Encanto. I've probably seen it 40 times.
It's so good. Have you watched it?
Mm-mm.
Oh my god.
It's really
I
good.
need to.
It's really good.
It's really good, yeah.
Like I could watch something like that over and over.
That's what I watch at work when I'm having, like, a rough day and I need to, like, just focus because I know all the words so I don't have to look at it.
Yeah.
And I just watch
That's Harry
Encanto
Potter.
over and over. Yeah, that's Harry Potter for you.
Yeah.
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 Okay, well, thank you. How can we find you guys on Instagram or social media, personally and this.
Yellow Door Ceramics it doesn't have the studio on it on Instagram, right?
It does.
Oh, Yellow Door Ceramics Studio on Instagram. And then you can find both of us from there. But
Okay.
My studio Instagram is Felissa Joy Studio, like Melissa with an F.
Yes.
Mine's Amanda Pennington Ceramics, and then our Yellow Door website is yellowdoorceramics.com.
Sweet. Cool. Well, thank you. It's been so great talking to you guys.
Very
Yeah,
fun.
thanks for coming.
Yeah. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Yo, higgity yo. It's Becca here. Hey, just so you know, thank you for listening. And also, we have... What do we have again? A Patreon. We have a Patreon that you should go, and if you want to donate to, you could donate to it. If you don't, that's cool too. But just Google Wheel Talk Podcast Patreon. Don't do the other one, because there is a Wheel Talk on Patreon, but it's not us. So make sure you get the right one. It's in the show notes. And also, leave us a review because they're fun to read. Okay, bye.